I finished the analyst group, and the dreamers are next, my faves. And no, it's not narcissism, not because I'm an INFJ, but it really is my favorite group. I love ENFPs, I love INFPs, and for the most part, I can enjoy an ENFJ every once in a while. Um, so it's just the group that I relate the most to, obviously, and I'm surrounded by. So yeah, pretty excited. And let's see what we can find out that I don't already know about an INFJ. Not to toot my own horn, but I feel like I've done a lot of research over time because obviously I want to know as much as I can about my personality type. So this should be pretty unsurprising for me. So an INFJ, when we look at the functions, introverted intuition is the first one. So we are very idealistic and we are always future oriented. Um, Intuition is kind of like seeing the future in a sense, or like trying to get a sense of it. You know what I mean? Like there are people that can plan, but then there's intuition, and intuition can kind of tell you instinctively what things could possibly happen, as opposed to S's that use societal norms and what they already know to predict what's going to happen. You know what I mean? Like we all do it in some way, but intuitives, it just kind of comes from no one really knows where. There's just some subconscious force that kind of gives them answers. So it's a mystical gift, and so it's kind of hard to pinpoint exactly what that looks like in a person. Um, and I think that's why INFJs, like they're kind of like the enigma, kind of like an INTJ, because they have introverted intuition too. But people never like fully seem to understand them or kind of think of them as like robotic in a sense. But luckily we have extroverted feelings, so we can kind of relate to others, and that's kind of our guiding force because of that extroverted feeling is our second function. Um, it's very, very strong in us, and that's why we often seek to be counselors and advisors. And I feel like the INFJ, if you have one as a friend, is going to be the person that has the most amount of advice for you, or the most consistent amount of advice, that's always ready to hear your problems no matter what. That's just like really genuinely wanting to help. Genuinely. Even when there's already so many demands on them. So let's see what we have for an INFJ. Excuse me. INFJ. Introverted intuition, extroverted feeling, introverted thinking, and extroverted sensing is our weakest, or our fourth function. Oh, okay. Well, okay, so temperance, reverse. So maybe we do lack a little bit of patience. Maybe that we have a hard time not indulging with that extroverted sensing as our weakest one. So it's hard for us to be responsible with that. So we have a tendency to kind of overdo it, indulging in food and drink and consumption of whatever that means to you. It's not even just physical pleasures, but it's mental ones too. So for me, I can binge watch movies. I'll go to the theater sometimes and I'll watch 3 movies back to back. Like I really do. I just do it to the extreme when I can, not always. Usually if it's other people with me, I'll just limit it to like a social norm, like just one. But if it's me on a day off, like I'll do things as extreme as I want, kind of a thing, And so sometimes it's hard for me to find balance. Very, very hard to find balance. Something I constantly struggle with. But I do preach it a lot too, because I have a Leo. Well, I'm a Leo, and Libra in the third. I'm always talking about balance to other people, but I kind of lack it in my own life. So with this, it's really about getting your emotions on the same level as your mind, so you can see clearly with your inside and with your insights, they're synced up. So sometimes our vision can be, if we're not achieving that balance or looking for that harmony, that vision can take us in the wrong direction for ourselves. I feel like for other people, we can clearly see what needs to be done or whatever, but for ourselves, it's a little harder. It's a little harder to see in the mirror, like what is going on at the present time in your own life, Sometimes I'll get like opinions from people. Like somebody said the other day that at work I seem very like cool and collected on the surface, and I'm like, well, I'm glad you say that because I don't feel that way. Like I really feel like I wear it all on my sleeve and that it's pretty easy to tell. So it could be stuff like that, with that extroverted feeling. But since we're so introverted, it may not always come across. But I think the amount that we care about people and the amount that we take the time to listen and understand and advise really shows that we're very genuinely caring. Even sometimes for people that we don't want to be, we still make that effort, just because it's within us to be like a decent person or an integrous person. So I'm really happy about that. Temperance reverse, though, just is lacking the balance. I think is like seeing the path for our own life is a little more challenging. I think the INFJs, there's a lot of memes and stuff out there, and it's like could solve all the world's problems, but can't even tell where they're going in the next 10 minutes, something like that, something to that effect. But you know what I mean? It's like we have so much potential, but it's like, how do we channel that into getting somewhere that's going to be fulfilling for us and utilize our assets? That's a struggle. So that's definitely one that I can that resonates with me. So Queen of Swords reversed. Okay, so we saw this with ENTP. So sometimes we advise or counsel when it's not always warranted. Sometimes we're quick to judge others or to throw in some advice when they're not readily looking for it or open to it, and we have to be careful with that because we don't want to come across as bossy or in this capacity, almost like we don't want to come across as like hard ass that's just like demanding and just, Jennifer, why can't you do this thing, or da 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 da. So we have to be careful just because we are very on point with what people need to do, and we're very precise and all that, and we have a pretty decent power of communication. Obviously, that's the extroverted feeling. We're able to get that out of there, and the intuition, so we can pretty easily predict how people are going to take things or when the situation is calling for us. But sometimes, every once in a while, we can get it to where it's not necessary. So you have to watch out for that. Is it just your own kind of awkwardness that's like trying to fill the silence, or do you really think that this information that you have is vital and it's not just beating a dead horse kind of a thing? So just watch out for being a little more commanding than necessary. I can come across sometimes as bossy. I can see that, and I don't mean to be. Sometimes my words get ahead of my I don't know, my mouth. Is that the right phrase? So sometimes that you have to kind of review what you have to say before you let it out. That was my advice for the ENTPs, and I guess it stays for INFJs as well. So, but this is like a very feminine, so I think this is talking about our nurturing side because we are very caring people, and the swords is the intellect, so lots of air energy. In the Zodiac Myers-Briggs mashup video I did relate Aquarius to INFJ. So I assigned the 16 personalities, or I'm sorry, the 12 zodiac signs to which of the Myers-Briggs I think were most likely the most common, or that were the most relatable for each of the signs. So Queen of Swords reverse. Yeah, we can just get a little high and mighty sometimes with our intellect. So it will be necessary sometimes to kind of bring ourselves down a peg, you know. But there's a lot of opportunity, air and temperance, lots of room for growth, so that's cool. I think the focus is, are you growing yourself, or are you just focusing on growing other people? So let's see, INFJ, what else? Let's see here. So INFJ archetypes, some of the characters out there. Dumbledore is kind of like my favorite INFJ archetype because in the Harry Potter world, it all just looks so cool. You know, like his office and everything, and he has a pensieve, and that I really, really relate to. I sometimes will say to my friends, like, my mind feels so stretched at the end of each day, and something like a pensieve that could like literally save my thoughts or moments would just be like the coolest thing ever. I think it would even be cooler than like having a wand itself, you know what I mean? Oh, okay. So this is my card, usually, that I draw. King of Wands reverse, though. So we're having some issues with power. Maybe we're not well suited for being in a power position. But King of Wands is, you know, when we see the kings, obviously they're very assertive and dominant, but we get even more so or aggressive when it's reversed. So, you know, are people ready to hear what we have to say? And like I said, not always. So you have to be wary of that. We obviously look very flamboyant, wand energy. We definitely stand out sometimes, and we don't always mean to. But we just have very particular taste, and you know, we know what makes us feel good, so we're going to wear it, whether it looks like some kooky outfit that Dumbledore threw on, you know, or whatever. You know, we're going to stand out in our way because we truly are unique. So there's that. King of Wands, maybe there's some trouble with the father. One of the father archetypes, the kings, and even mom. So we could have some family issues. You know, whether our parents are pretty demanding. Could be that, but it's interesting that we got a queen and king from different suits instead of the same. So our feminine side looks more towards the intellectual, and then our masculine side is like the true masculine, fire. He rules over the ego and are kind of like Leonian, you know, traits. I usually associate Queen and King of Wands with Leo, but the Queen can sometimes be Pisces. So he's really looking to go further. Again, growth. We do see a lot of growth here, but we're reversed to it. So sometimes, like I said, it can be a struggle for us to achieve that. And I think because we're so internally involved with things, it can already feel like we've gone somewhere, and so it's hard to do it on a physical plane. Like, we're missing earth energy here, and I'm about to talk to it because that's exactly what we just got. So the Devil and the Page of Pentacles reversed. So the Devil, interesting. Maybe there's some Capricorn INFJs out there. Not expecting that, but Capricorns are very intelligent. They are known for their knowledge. When you look at what you know well, or what you know what I mean? Like your hobby or your interest, you usually look in your 10th house, along with career and all that. It stands for a lot. So the Devil, though, I think what we see here with the INFJ is restriction on ourselves. So we tend to hold ourselves back because we struggle finding our own path. And we see that here so far, all of these reversals, and we finally get an upright one, and look what it is. Sorry. But this could mean that we are our own worst enemy, or that we end up picking relationships or marriage or something that actually holds us back from our path. Not to say that we're all lone wolves, but I think with the INFJ, we kind of do have a bigger purpose in a sense, and that's why we're seeing some of these cards. And so if you're not picking the right mate, that can really uh, distract you even further from your purpose, and we already struggle with seeing what that is. But we have so much potential, that's obvious. We could really do a lot of good. Um, it's just like, do you feel like you really deserve the best? Kind of like that Perks of Being a Wallflower quote. It's like we accept the love we think we deserve, and that's what you think you deserve. That's not cool because you're selling yourself short. So we deserve a lot more than the devil. The devil is like the opposite of the lovers. Lovers is bright and shiny. It's new beginnings. It's like soulmate stuff, and the devil is uh, relationship issues. It's trust issues. It's yeah, and we can also get very when it comes to work. We can get very um, authoritative, maybe even when we're not in a position of authority. Um, bossy stuff like that, demanding. But yeah, I mean, I can relate to that. I don't really have Capricorn in my chart, but I definitely can hold myself back because for myself, it's hard for me to know what I'm truly looking for. And there's a lot of temptation out there, obviously, to throw us off course. And that extroverted sensing being our weakest, it is really hard. We already see temperance in reverse, and so we kind of overdo it in the temptation arena. Um, I can certainly agree with that. So, Page of Pentacles, though, again, where are we going? We really feel lost when it comes to our job, our career, our destiny. Like we know there is one, we know it's big, but it's like it's got to be so unique and so perfect for us. It's really hard for us to commit to going in any direction. You know what I mean? If it doesn't speak to us in that way, and it's pretty rare that something does. So it's almost like what the INTPs seem to be good at is finding a niche for themselves, kind of almost creating their own position just because they are so unique, but people end up commending them for their mental prowess. For us, it's almost like we need that. We need to be able to find a niche for ourselves or something that is very specific or esoteric, but it really allows us to stretch our legs and do what we do best, which is help people. So in the search for money and career, like basic success, we will always struggle with that. And because there's so much temptation around, because there's just some sense of misunderstanding within ourselves, like what we're truly capable of. Interesting cards so far. Some of these are very relevant to me right now that I've been getting. So, let's see, INFJ. I am surprised by the Devil card, though. I am surprised by that. I thought we were going to get the star for sure off the bat. INFJ. So we are the rarest, according to Myers-Briggs, and it's just because, I mean, can you imagine a world of INFJs? God, would anything get done? I don't think so. Not like literally get done. It would just get done in our heads because that's how I feel. It's like the older I get, the more I realize, the less I actually do on the physical plane, and it's all cerebral. Like there's a lot going on in my head constantly. And sometimes I wish I could turn it off. I really haven't learned how to do that. I've tried meditation and stuff, and I use crystals, but having that true mental power, or being able to turn it off and on, kind of when I want it to, is a struggle for me. And I take on, oh wow, okay, so very unexpected stuff here. For me, the Tower reverse. So you guys definitely feel like there's there's always crazy in the air. There's always so much happening constantly, and it can just be overwhelming. This could even be relating to that head pain that I was talking about, that ability to not relax. This can talk about headaches a lot. So if you experience a lot of that, maybe it's because your mental capacity needs to rest sometimes, and you have to figure out how to do that. Please let me know when you do. But the Tower reversed means that you're not always ready to fully quit. You know what I mean? You're not ready to put something to an end, to close it off, and to move on. That's a little harder. We take our time, and I do relate to that. I definitely take my time when it comes to putting things to an end, because I try not to take on things or people in my life unless I really, really see that potential or that true connection. So I can be very reserved at first because I'm putting together whether this person fits with me or if I see a future. So when I do get to a point where something's got to give, someone's got to go, or I have to do something really hard, I really, really can procrastinate the hell out of doing that stuff. And I think that's the Tower, is like, it's happening, but you're not ready for it, kind of a thing. And this can often refer to relationships. So if we, again, Devil card 2, if we stay in relationships well past their prime, or, we even start relationships that don't even look that glamorous to begin with. It's more of maybe a sexual nature, or, maybe, yeah. So maybe there's some confidence issues. But I'm really surprised by this, you guys. Like, 5 out of the 6 cards are reversed. I was not expecting this, INFJ. So I think this just kind of emulates how hard it is for us to kind of interact with the world sometimes. I think that's what it is. I mean, it is a life of struggle for sure, but ultimately what gets us through the day is that we know we see things clearly in our head, and that we have some kind of divine touch or wisdom, and we have all this purpose. It's just like how to put it to use. Okay, let's see here. So Knight of Wands and the Empress. So Knight of Wands, again, wand energy, that growth. So Knight of Wands is really, he's on a mission to find his purpose. So we are constantly looking for it, that's for sure. And it seems like when we tie it down to a career, that's harder for us to navigate. But maybe just generalizing, looking for what direction we want to go in could be more helpful. Again, that flamboyancy, that flamboyant nature we do, and then we got the mother archetype, the Empress. So in the INFJ world, we're not the Emperor, we are the Empress. We're maternal, because we're so caring and so compassionate, and when someone gives us some sort of emotional connection, that's really, really, we embrace that, wholeheartedly. And that's what I would love to commend about INFJs, is that they take emotion to heart, so much so that they really can give a lot of themselves in a single interaction, and we're great coaches in that way too. That we don't just feel what other people are feeling, but we advise them on how to handle it, or how to better themselves, or we give them pep talks. So we go a step further than most, if people even console each other, because some don't have the patience for it. So, but Knight of Wands, lots of journeys, lots of travel. So you're open to that. You're open to that. Going places, and looking good doing it, for sure. And then the Empress, so, she is Venusian, she is love, so we ourselves look great, very lavish, and we love our surroundings, like, we love nice things. We obviously love to indulge, so we have to have nice things to do that. And we look very regal. We already see a lot of court cards and the Empress here. And the Tower has a royal couple that fall down. But here it almost seems more like it's a solo journey. That the relationship stuff is more of a struggle. Kudos to you if you do find somebody that does raise you up and does inspire you and does make you a better person. Because it looks like for most of us, that's not going to be the case. I think just because we're so much harder to understand and we see things so clearly for other people that people move a lot slower than we do. At least in our heads, like physically, we do move slower than we think. But yeah, the Empress energy, so very maternal. Mom's pretty important. But again, there may be some struggles with that too, with the Queen and King reversed. Oh, Mom is very important. So again, struggles with that, like just what I was saying. So lots of Queen energy, you guys. So maybe there are some beautiful INFJ moms out there, but the only thing is when it comes to children or taking care of someone in that sense, in a maternal sense, we may struggle. They do say that INFJs aren't great parents just because it would be a little more helpful to have some sensing, or that's our weakest function, and so it's really hard for us to kind of raise somebody in an SJ world because we're just so not SJ. I mean, we have the J, but the S is really what you need kind of in a parent. That's why ESFJs are the mother archetype. I know I'm talking about Myers-Briggs, and through tarot, it can be like, what the hell, it's like an interesting mashup here. But Queen of Cups reverse just means that we are always close to our emotion. We're always kind of at the shore of our emotion. I do feel that way. It can just be turned on at a moment's notice, and it's kind of not perplexing. I don't not understand it. I understand it, but I just wish it wasn't always there. We can hold the past pretty closely, even though we are so future-oriented. Memories are vital to everybody's existence, and we just don't want to coddle those or keep us from moving forward or learning from them. You know what I mean? So... But yeah, it's I think because we spend so much time helping other people move through emotions and things, that at the end of the day, we don't really have that space for ourselves or give ourselves enough time to do that. It's not high on our priority list. So, oh wow, okay. Interesting. I wasn't expecting this either. This is some interesting stuff, you guys. So the Lovers card for INFJ, I guess I take back what I said about the temptation and the devil, and that love wasn't really something for us. If we're talking about Gemini here, then we can see that Gemini energy, air energy. I also see some Leo. I haven't seen Aquarius yet, which is interesting, but we do have the Queen of Swords, so it could be any of the three air signs. But the Lovers, so maybe we really are looking for our king, our masculine, dominant, aggressive, competitive, passionate soulmate. We're always looking for him, and I see both masculine and feminine in us, so we may kind of not be fully one thing, if you catch my drift. We may throw people off even more with that because we're so all over the place, and who we are and what we look like, we're so different. So, but yeah, lots of royalty here. But I think with this reversal, it's not power isn't something we seek, maybe. And it's not. I can say that for me, it's not really. I mean, I feel like I have a leadership kind of mentality, but it's not something I'm seeking. I actually love like quiet moments and being able to kind of have my own space. Like that's one of the cool things I really like about Dumbledore is that he had his own office like way at the top, separated, isolated from everybody, but it gave him that space. Like we were talking about the INTPs, like where they have that space. Like I would love to have that INTP space at work or something where um, and I just never do. I haven't found myself in a job where I do, and that's where I perform best is when I'm left alone because I have that integrity to work hard and find different ways, but I get really distracted because I'm so empathic, and so when other people are around me and I'm trying to focus, it's a real struggle for me. Um, Real struggle. So maybe you guys, maybe that resonates with you. But the lovers is great to see. I mean, the six card and six in numerology, I could see INFJs being because sixes are the counselors. They're usually Libra energy, and but they're very compassionate. Very devoted to really helping people. The home is very important, all those things, and I think we see that here so far too. But relationships ups and downs, we get both good and bad here, positive and negative. So it's really it's going to be on you whether you find that person or not, but they always say, to manifest that really good love or whatever, you have to feel good first. And so I think it's a challenge for INFJs to feel confident because it's something that's we're not it's not easy for us to feel confident because we just want to be accessible by everybody, and so we lose our ego constantly. We're constantly trying to shed our ego because it makes us more available emotionally for others, but at the end of the day, we have to seek balance, and I think maybe that's temperance reverse. To be able to give, we have to first give to ourselves, or you get what you give. You know what I mean? It's like, always, 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 I preach this to people that are very caring and empathic and noble, and that, like, first of all, you have to make sure you're good so you can really be there for others. And I definitely have that advice for INFJs too, because we just get caught up in people's emotions and dramas just because we're kind of like a sponge in a sense, but a sponge that, like has advice, and we do have a lot of vision. I can kind of see that with the Queen of Cups, like she's looking into, like you think Kate Blanchett's character in Lord of the Rings, she's Galadriel, she was looking in the well, and you see that again with Dumbledore, the pensieve. So I don't know why I just can't lose that, but it's like we're always looking through something. It's like crystal ball, they say a lot of not necessarily psychics, but people involved in metaphysics and all that, because it's future oriented, and we're so future oriented that it makes sense. And the intuition is just like, coming out of nowhere. It's not logically based. So that kind of stuff is more of our forte. But that kind of symbology resonates with me. So, but I just think when it comes to leadership positions, we may struggle a little bit. Like it's not like our natural forte, and it isn't for an Aquarius to be in leadership. They're very innovative and very great at it, but the motivation and all that, like that constant demand and high energy and all that is a little harder for them to come by. They're that fixed. Leo's fixed, but Leo's a fire sign, so they kind of like, they just have that get up and go energy, and they're just constantly moving and all that. Aquarius is a slow mover, so it's fixed air, so it doesn't quite move as fast, but it moves very carefully and very precisely, just like a Virgo does almost, It's very critical in nature. Just like a computer. Think of a computer or a robot or something, not to diminish an Aquarian, but like you guys are that fucking efficient. Like you find the exact right answer to a command. You know what I mean? Like it's just boom, and like you've hit the gold. You strike gold every time you're presented with something, and I just think that's so cool because like Geminis can get there, but it's usually not their first thought. And then Libras, we're not even going to talk about how long it takes a Libra to decide, but sure, we'll say that they can get there eventually, but Aquarius gets the right way like the first time around, and that's pretty cool. And I think INFJ is that way too because it's so intuitive based. Like they just have that knowledge somehow. It just comes out of thin air, and they say that thing that you need to hear. I will say, when it comes to like public speaking and all that, we have a lot of great things that people need to hear. We can be great life coaches and spiritualists and leaders of movements if we have that confidence that we need to guide. I mean, there's so many great movement people out there that were INFJs. I mean, just look it up. And it's because we all have vision, and because we're so deeply caring and empathic, and that it somebody's got to do it at the end of the day. So especially in this political climate, yeah, we may be calling on the INFJs to step it up and to be brave enough, because it is hard when we don't really like attention. We see that here. We do not like attention. Okay. We don't like attention because these royalty cards would be upright if we did, or we didn't mind it, and we do mind it. We don't like the focus to be on ourselves, because that's not our nature. That's not our gift. So, but the lovers, hopefully there is prospect with love. I mean, it's good and bad here. You can go either way. It's just how much self-worth you have at the end of the day is what you're going to attract. That's what they say. So you really just have to be strong and know that, yes, you may not have the best career or even know exactly what you want to do, but you have a lot of purpose and you have a lot of skill, and you're truly there for people. Even if it's not a big group of people, it's just a small select few people that you really care about in your life, and they know that. They'll say it time and time again, and maybe you don't hear it enough, but you know it's true. Like, you just know. And that's how I feel. So we may just end it there. On the lovers, why not? Why not? So, interesting stuff, you guys. Not really anything that I was expecting, but we do see a lot of struggle here. So we will struggle with the practical world and its demands on us, and that makes it so much harder for us to fit in because we are so different. But there's a lot of potential here. I would just say that leadership probably isn't our forte, and maybe kind of stray away from that. I think we do better when we have not less demands, but we have more flexibility or freedom, and because we can handle that space where a lot of other people can't. We need positions to where people trust in us, but they also kind of let us do our thing that we're good at or we can get good at. So that's kind of my advice. Don't conform to society, because that's going against everything that we're good at. People do value our unique opinions and perspectives, and that we can kind of tap into anybody we come into contact with, good and bad. And so sometimes that can really be, for an empath, it can be very toxic. If you take on somebody's energy that isn't good, like a psychic vampire or something, and you just can't get away from it. Like if you find yourself in a situation like that, which I have, but I would just advise on seeking out, classes for yourself, because we teach so many people all the time, but there's still stuff that we need to do for ourselves at the end of the day first. And blocking some of that sometimes when it's not necessary is going to make it stronger for when it is called upon from you, So you can really be at your best when you're just not doing it all the time. And so it's important to find the boundaries and to kind of navigate that and just make your own rules, make your own path, because I think with INFJ, yes, they can be tempted, but they aren't really, because feeling is so strong in us. It grounds us. It does make us more humanistic, or humanitarian. That's a great word for an Aquarius. So we didn't see the star card, so I'd be interested to know like what you have in your chart. But obviously we would see some air most likely, and maybe even some Leonian stuff or some fire. So hope you guys enjoyed this. My mouth's getting a little tired. I don't know why, but I'm just talking a lot. So I'm going to call this one done. look out for more of the dreamers category. I think the next one would be, um, I don't know if I would do, yeah, I don't know which one yet, but I'm gonna do the rest of the dreamers. So